It is 4 p.m. We bring developing news to the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao. The headlines of this are: Palace Press Officer Claire Castro calls latest claims of former President Duterte's lead counsel preposterous. During the first day of Duterte's confirmation of charges hearing yesterday, Kaufman said President Bongbong Marcos is trying to neutralize Duterte's legacy. Castro says Kaufman, the lawyer of the former president, has failed to present a clear defense over the alleged extrajudicial killings linked to Duterte's drug war. She urged the lawyer to focus on the facts of the case rather than on political rhetoric.
Hindi naman katakataka. Ever since naman yan na ang isinisigaw ng kampo ni dating Pangulong Duterte at mukhang ina-adapt lang ng abogado niyang si Atty. Kaufman. Lumalabas kasi dito, Colleen, na walang kaalam-alam itong si Atty. Kaufman ng katotohanan. Dahil sabi nga natin, mukhang siya yung may lumalabas na siya yung may severe cognitive impairment as kumpara sa kanyang kliyente. Kung ano man ang depensa niya, we don't care. Ang sa atin lang dito, wag niya lang dadamay ang Pangulo dahil puro yung kasinungalingan.
Kaufman also blamed media for what he described as the negative global perception of Duterte. He argues that reports focus on what he called salacious content, while ignoring the broader context of Duterte's remarks and policies during the war on drugs.
It starts with the media, controlled by the powerful and the politically influential. With a sensational headline and a twisted editorial slant, the moguls sell their papers while promoting the partisan agenda of their backers in power. They highlight the salacious content while ignoring the true context.
But for National Union of Journalists of the Philippines Chairman Jonathan De Santos, Kaufman's claim is unfair and insulting to journalists.
Basically, what they're saying is we're missing the context or basically we're making it up or sensationalizing. No? Pero kung titingnan naman natin, it really is sensational na may mga pinapatay na supposed drug personalities without trial, without benefit of formal charges. No? Nakaka-shock naman talaga yun. And if you look back on the reporting, I don't think anyone ever said na labas ito sa konteksto ng war on drugs. Ang unfair to be saying that, no? Ang actual scandal dito or actual dapat na kumbaga kinakatakutan natin dito or kinakagulat natin dito ay mga pinatay, hindi yung supposed slant or supposed na yun nga angles, no?
And here are the other stories we're watching this Tuesday, February 24. In less than 2 hours, Duterte's confirmation of charges hearing continues. On day 2, the ICC pretrial chamber will hear detailed arguments from the prosecution, the defense, and the legal representatives of participating victims. The judges will assess whether there are substantial grounds to believe that Duterte committed crimes against humanity linked to his anti-drug campaign, a threshold required for the case to move to full trial. No witnesses will be called at this stage, but the 3-judge panel may pose questions to clarify legal and factual issues raised on day 1. Hearings remain capped at 3 hours, divided into 3 one-hour sessions. No ruling will be issued yet, as judges have up to 60 days after the proceedings conclude to decide whether to confirm, amend, or dismiss the charges. VP Sara Duterte says her family has accepted the possibility that the former president may no longer return home. The VP cited her father's court statement where he allegedly accepted that he could die while in ICC detention. Mr. Duterte was arrested on March 11, 2025 and turned over to the tribunal for alleged crimes against humanity during his war on drugs. A recent social welfare station survey found that most Filipinos believe Senator Bato de la Rosa should be held accountable for drug war killings. 53% of respondents agreed that he should be liable, while 44% said he should be detained if the International Criminal Court issues an arrest warrant. The survey was released ahead of the confirmation hearings of former President Duterte in The Hague. President Bongbong Marcos says their camp has been talking with several people. That's his answer when asked if he already has a preferred candidate for the 2028 presidential elections. When asked if he will endorse a candidate, Marcos replied, and we quote, "Not soon."
We have some people that we are talking to in mind. Many of them actually, some of them have said, no, I do not
From the
want."
cabinet?
I'm sorry?
Are they from the cabinet? Are they local officials? Are they from the Senate or Congress?
Of course, you have to see, when people are working, but you cannot limit yourself to government.
Yeah.
But of course, it's much harder to bring to a presidential level someone who has not been involved in politics ever. It happens, but it's not that easy.
And joining us today from the Philippine Star, we have Editor-in-Chief Ami Pamintuan. Ami, good afternoon.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday. Mukhang another busy day today, and we're not
Very
just talking
busy
about
day.
the
Very
Hague.
busy week, actually, no?
Oo nga.
Very
And
busy week.
may dumagdag pa. It's not just what's happening in the Hague. May nag-press conference kanina kung saan
Yes.
pati yung ICC dinawit doon sa Maleta issue.
Sige nga, i-play nyo nga. Meron ba?
I don't know, we have sound bites already
Press con
cut
yun,
eh.
di ba? Press
It was a
con
press
siya.
con by Attorney Levito Baligod. If you do recall, he was the lawyer of
Yes.
Ben Hurluy dun sa pork barrel scam in 2012, I think, or 2011, if I remember correctly. He brought with him 18 men that he says were former Marine Corps personnel who acted as drivers and security personnel of, I'm not sure kung lahat sila or ilan lang sa kanila or what. Pero apparently, by their claim, most of them worked for Zaldico. And according
Yes.
to Attorney Baligod, they were making deliveries of maletas containing cash to several locations, including supposedly yung Valle Verde 6 residence ni Zaldico at pati raw doon sa Forbes Park na bahay ni President Bongbong Marcos at pati raw doon sa bahay ni President Bongbong Marcos doon sa Paway, if I recall correctly. That was part of the press conference. So, may ganun daw. And these deliveries supposedly were made from 2023 until the middle of 2025. In fact, ang sinasabi ni Baligod, again, I'm trying to recall, kasi I watched most of it, but
Hindi ko pa napanood.
ang sinasabi ni Baligod was that the first Marine, the first former Marine who came out, what's his name again? Si Orly Gutesa.
Orly Gutesa.
Yung nag-testify sa Senado,
Orly Gutesa.
I think Baligod was implying or saying na si Gutesa was pressured into retracting his testimony before the Senate. But at the same time, Baligod was saying na si Gutesa only did deliveries of maletas with the cash, supposedly, for 2 weeks. Yung talagang matagal daw ang trabaho sa pagde-deliver ng mga maleta ay itong 18 iniharap ni Baligod kanina doon sa press conference niya. At meron pa raw 10 or 12 other former Marines na hindi nakapag-attend daw doon sa press conference pero willing daw na humarap at maglabas ng kanilang mga sworn statements. Ngayon, dun sa first part ng press conference, sinabi ni Baligod that these former soldiers have already executed sworn affidavits. However, he will not release the affidavits to the media until or after he has submitted them to the ombudsman. If I recall correctly, that's what he said in the first part of the press conference. Meron na raw na mga affidavit, ito, pero hindi pa niya ilalabas i-make public. Gusto niya munang bigyan ng kopya ang ombudsman para tingnan kung ito'y aandar doon sa ombudsman. So, in other words, we don't have anything on paper right now. We don't have anything in black and white. We just have the statements being made kanina by Baligod and some of the I saw at least 2 people claiming to be former Marines who gave a brief interview during the press conference. So,
Asa na daw si Orly Gutierrez?
I'm not sure. And I'm not sure kung napag-usapan dito in the press conference. Pero the implication of Baligod was that he had been pressured into retracting.
Wala namang retraction eh. You have to retract formally.
Well, I mean, he had been pressured into
Kahit peke yung notary doon. He has to issue a statement.
The implication was that he had been pressured to withdraw
To
what he
disappear,
said.
actually. He disappeared.
Yeah, well, yun na nga yun.
Hindi withdrawal yun. Disappearance yun. Vanishing
may
act yun.
ganun. Ito, naglabas sila ng more people. Nagpakilala ang iba sa kanila. I think pinakilala ni Baligod ang lahat ng 18. Of course, we weren't able to get all the names. But yun, that's also for
bakit
verification.
puro Marines, ano?
Oo nga. Well, although marami naman kasing may gusto ng mga former Marines for security purposes.
Na bodyguard.
Because of their reputation. So may
Anong
ganun.
reputation yun?
Oo. So may ganun. Pero meron pang may mga hinabol si Baligod that concerned not just the supposed baleta deliveries where they implicated, of course, Zaldico, I think Martin Romualdez, and even the President. May deliveries daw doon sa Paway, sa bahay daw niya sa Paway at bahay niya sa North Forbes. Pero hindi lamang yon. Ito may pahabol pa si Atty. Baligod, pati raw yung International Criminal Court, apparently nakinabang daw doon sa mga maleta. Supposedly daw, at least 2 maleta containing, kasi tansya raw nila, mga 56 million pesos ang laman ng kada maleta. So at least...
Para saan yun?
Ha?
Para saan?
Ito nga.
Para ituloy yung investigation.
Dalawang maleta containing 56 million pesos each, pina-convert into dollars daw from pesos.
$1 million yun.
Oo. Hindi. $1 million yung 56. 2 maleta eh. So 2 million.
Hindi, para sa 2 judge yun siguro.
Hindi. Well, I don't know Pero hindi naman umabot dun sa ganung usapan, at least nung panood ko yung 2 maletang yan daw ay idinaan kay Trillanes, kay former Senator Sally Trillanes, para doon sa ICC investigators who were visiting the country as early as December 2023. That was the allegation. So, yung perang yun daw in US dollars ay dinaan kay Senator Trillanes para ibigay o ipagamit o kaya ay ipanggastos doon sa mga ICC investigators who were coming to the country as early as December of 2023. I also understand, nagpakita pa sila ng mga litrato ng mga ICC investigators na nandito sa Pilipinas during that time. Mukhang mga hidden camera shots, at least by appearances. Of course, we have no way of verifying these things yet. We're just telling you what the allegations that were being made, what were the allegations that were being made kanina by the party of Levito Baligod. So, yun.
Pero alam naman natin na nakikipag-usap si Sunny Trillanes sa mga ICC people dito sa Manila. And not only him, the lawyers, no? Alam naman natin na may nagdatingan dito. In fact, it was naging issue yun against the Marcos administration, di ba? Bakit nyo pinapapasok dito? At sinabi ng administration, sabi ng government, di naman namin sila mapipigilan kung pupunta sila dito as visitor at hindi naman sila formally nag-investigate. Yun ang natatandaan kong side ng gobyerno. So it's not actually a secret na nagbibisita. Ang bago lang dyan, yung mga maleta.
Ito may statement na si Trillanes nilabas. We're having Trillanes later in the show, bandang alas 5. But in the meantime, this is what we have from Trillanes. I vehemently deny that I received $2 million or any amount from Zaldico for the ICC investigation or for any other purpose. This is an attempt to discredit the ongoing ICC proceedings against Duterte. I'll be filing cyber libel cases against Levi Baligod, Mike Defensor, Jay Sonsa, the 18 ex-soldiers, and all those who are maliciously circulating this blatant lie. This is not new to me. I will not be distracted. Hahabulin ko kayo. Apparently, a post by Trillanes dun sa kanyang social media page, sa kanyang Facebook. Okay, let me just review. So, the allegation of Baligod was that 2 million daw ay binigay kay Trillanes para sa ICC investigators who were here as early as November or December 2023. Tapos ang sinabi pa ni Baligod, the ICC daw was manufacturing, for a moment I thought he was going to say manufacturing evidence, but he said the ICC is the ICC investigators were manufacturing jurisdiction. Para si Duterte raw ay ma-under dun sa ICC jurisdiction. Also, he says or he claimed that instead of protecting the human rights of people, why is the ICC not respecting the human rights of other people by investigating other people who were not brought to them by Trillanes. Ang assertion kasi ni Baligod is that Trillanes lamang ang kausap ng ICC at yung mga hinaharap ni Trillanes na mga testigo ang kausap ng ICC investigators. At least that's as far as he knows.
Sino pa ibang tao? Sino pa ibang tao na hindi hinarap sa ICC?
I don't know. That's all, actually, we're also trying to get Baligod. We asked our guest coordinators to try to get Baligod. Kasi, among other things, of course, that you also want to ask is, to begin with, the Duterte camp has already refused to recognize the ICC. So, I don't know how the ICC would have gotten the Duterte side to cooperate in an investigation.
Saka kung binayaran yon, kailangan merong malaking pagbabago dun. Kasi matagal na nang iniimbestigahan niya ng ICC, di ba? Alam naman natin yung mga argumento nila. Matagal na yon. Long-running arguments for jurisdiction and for investigating yung mga taong, well, in particular, the former president, no? Kung babayaran niya ng $2 million, kailangan may malaking pagbabago dun sa takbo ng investigation. Meron ba? Di ba?
Yeah, so those are
Kasi
questions
may kamahalan yun, di ba?
Oh.
$2 million, it has to be something significant.
But it's also a very, very colorful and striking accusation against the ICC investigators, especially considering na siyempre yung flood control scandal at controversy ay napakalaki at napakainit na usapin sa mga Pilipino, tapos nililink yan ngayon sa ICC ng grupo ni Baligod. So, kumbaga, dinadamay-damay na pati yung ICC, which is ongoing, of course, the confirmation of charges hearing, dinadamay-damay na pati yung ICC doon sa issue ng flood control scandal.
Kaya nga lalo na nagkagulo-gulo pareho, no?
So, again,
sa flood control, natatabunan na nga ngayon ng kung ano-ano eh. Natabunan na ng impeachment ni BP Sara, natabunan na ng kung ano-ano, di ba? Pati ngayon, yung naghahanap na si President Marcos ng magiging successor niya. Natatabunan yung takbo ng investigation.
At least,
lalo nang nagulo yan.
At least those were the allegations na naabutan ko doon sa playback ko kanina ng press conference. So we're also trying to get, of course, somebody from Malacanang to respond to the allegations that the president himself, that there were deliveries to the houses of the president sa Forbes Park at pati daw doon sa Paway. I don't know kung meron nga siyang bahay sa Paway. But anyway, yun ang allegation ng grupo ni Levito Baligod. So, ayun, marami at malaki-laki ang mga aligasyon na tamang-tama sa day 2 ng ICC confirmation of charges hearings.
Mamaya pa yung 5 o'clock.
Oo.
Kung hindi ma-delay uli ng half hour.
Hindi, ganun naman po kayo. I think that's already the norm. There's a 30-minute delay talaga for the public broadcast.
5:30 yung pisa. 9 yun sa kanila eh.
It begins Philippine time at 5 o'clock, but we start broadcasting because it's only made public 30 minutes later. We start broadcasting live at 5:30. So may 30-minute delay po. Hindi po siya live mismo.
Hindi dahil sa ICC, Kasi alam ko meron din silang doon hindi ba? Parang may, sa inyo pala yung delay sa sa broadcasting natin.
And the delay is on purpose by the ICC.
Yeah, ICC siya, di ba?
Yeah. It is not because of our choice. It's a decision by the ICC from the very start. Anyway, Bok, let's bring in our first guest for today. We have, of course, Richard Hidarian, our geopolitical expert. Richard, he joins us from the Netherlands.
I just got
Richard.
back lang to the UK. Yes, I was in Netherlands hanggang kagabi lang. But I'm still obviously following things. Nakita niyo ba? So, I think at least na-vindicate ako na yung nakita ko about Bato, hindi it's
nga.
based in reality. Yeah. So, sinilipan
Okay, sinabi mo yung arrest. Nasaan yung arrest order?
Well, that's the logistics part. Di ko na kontrolado yan. So I think let's wait for that. But obviously, once na-confirm na yung mga co-perpetrators, it's just a question of hindi lang pag-release ng warrants of arrest, but it's also a question of how the government is gonna execute that warrant of arrest. To be honest, what I found very interesting so far, no, dun sa hearings is how adept at creative communication is Attorney Kaufman, no? Siguro si Attorney Kaufman pwede siya maging spokesman ni Sara Duterte if ever Sara Duterte becomes president. I mean, he seems to be knowing about everything, no? Domestic politics, geopolitics, lahat na lang yata na-comment ni Attorney Kaufman. But to be honest, based also on conversations with folks dyan on the ground at The Hague, including with the diplomatic community, including with the experts and all, isa sa aking mga concerns was how is ICC holding it together, because we know medyo intense yung sanctions ng United States, particularly yung Trump administration. Alam natin, Israeli government has been trying to get the ICC to withdraw yung warrant of arrest laban sa mga top leaders nila, especially Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. I think pumalit na rin yung spokesman ng ICC, no? And even in terms of financial transactions, access to consultants, I think a couple of people who used to work with ICC have dropped out because of this international pressure. So kumbaga, ito na yung big prize for ICC. They're trying to survive, they're under siege, and President Duterte is the biggest prize for them in terms of making sure that they have a top leader and the first ever leader from Asia to face charges for crimes against humanity. I think yung ibang kaibigan natin napansin din nila, iba ito sa mga local courts natin. With all due respect, I know sabi na isang senador, ideally sa domestic court sana magsasagawa ng mga ganitong mga investigations, but the ideal court is the one we're seeing in the ICC right now. Talagang parang dead cold ang atmosphere here. It's just about the presentation of facts. No room for antics and circus and all. And talagang ma-interrogate ka if you make any questionable claims. So kitang-kita natin yan dun sa mga opening statements and back and forth na nakita natin kahapon. And just as we expected, President Duterte's own quotes, own statements were used against him. Kaya siguro natuwa dapat ng defense team na hindi si Harry Roque yung nandun, because Harry Roque's own statements back in the day against Rodrigo Duterte would have likely been cited by the prosecution side. I also had the chance to meet some of the folks who are involved in the on the side of the witnesses, some of the families of the witnesses. Nakita natin over the weekend dyan sa Hague. I think this is really a big deal for a lot of these people who finally see at least a road towards justice. Sabi nga ng mga Chinese, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, and this is the first major step in that direction.
Pero Richard, we have a breaking story today. Of course, we want to talk about what happened yesterday, but we also need to talk about something that happened today that now involves the ICC. I don't know if you were listening to our earlier conversation now, just before you came in.
This is the Trillanes? I just shared his the
assertion of Levito Baligod. That $2 million converted from dalawang maleta ng 56 million pesos each were turned over to Trillanes for the use or something of the ICC investigators who were here. We don't know exactly what they were trying to assert or prove. I'm talking about Baligod. Does he mean that it was used lamang for operations here by the ICC investigators, or was there something else they were trying to imply? Whatever the case is, it's of course it's a big assertion, it's a big allegation, and it may or may not have, but likely would have an impact on the ICC and perception of the ICC by the public.
Oh, absolutely. This is absolute mudslinging. Baka dapat i-cyber libel din sila ng ICC. I don't know what are the rules against the ICC responding to this, but this is it. I think the ICC has never ever faced a situation like this. Actually, before flying from UK to Netherlands last week, I was just talking to some of my colleagues and friends here in Oxford na Dutch, and pati sila alam nila, oh, you mean Rodrigo Duterte? I think there's already a reputation about how passionate and zealous President Duterte's supporters are. I don't think they have ever seen anything like this. Not only the ICC, but I think a lot of Dutch people never realized that the alleged ICC level criminal will have so much love and support. And now we also have this really mudslinging, really all sorts of disinformation and attacks against the ICC. So we went from this kind of framing of ICC as a colonial organization supposedly imposing its will on us, which absolutely is not true. We signed up to the Rome Statute. Duterte questionably withdrew from this. But nevertheless, may residual jurisdiction on ICC per the Supreme Court ruling. So there's no question about the jurisdiction, which was really the only Hail Mary, effort of the defense team to undermine the ICC. We saw online attacks and harassment of the judges, including when one of the judges posted a picture with their mom the other year on Instagram. I mean, this is really unprecedented. And then now, as if that weren't enough, meron tayong itong accusations. Basically, it looks like the line of argument of this questionable accusation is that parang may collusion na nangyari. So at once, they want to attack ICC, BBM, and also Senator Trillanes, obviously, who's a bête noire of mga Dutertes and the pro-Duterte camp.
Yeah. But now I
let's not
remember,
forget, the ICC investigators were trying to get in panon pa ni Duterte. They have their own resources. They have their own, basically procedures and SOPs and all. They don't have to be bribed by the Philippine government to come in. And let's not forget, I know that for a fact that President BBM himself was hesitant in cooperating with the ICC at all, including the investigators. And it was only in 2024 when I visited here at The Hague na may mga agam-agam galing sa mga sources natin na medyo baka bukas na ang ating gobyerno na makipag-cooperate. So, looking at that background, looking at the procedures and professionalism of the ICC, to put it mildly, I see this as complete nonsense. So I think Senator Trillanes has every right to file cyber libel charges against this individual.
Sige lang, ito kasing I remember now, si Baligod was saying something kanina to the effect na parang the ICC investigators are guilty of graft for accepting
exactly,
this
parang
money.
binayaran sila para mag-investigate. Alam natin, panon pa ni Digong gusto pumasok, mga ito. Mandato nila yun at kakasabi ko nga lang, isa ito sa mga pinakamalaking cases. Obviously, the ICC has tried to go after other major leaders in the world, including Prime Minister Netanyahu of Israel, President Putin of Russia, but obviously may limitations sila. I mean, going against nuclear-powered states, there's some natural limitation here. But in the case of President Duterte, the ICC was trying to get into the Philippines panon pa ni Digong. And remember, if not Digong, some of his top officials, diba? I think it was Digong, right? Na sabi niya, pag pumunta sila sa Pilipinas, uupakan niya, diba? He said it the other year pa, even when he was not the president anymore. So we all know for a fact, you can just Google it, the ICC has been trying to get into the Philippines panon pa ng Digong. So if there were people to be bribed, so they were come inside Duterte's time to be bribed by Duterte to file charges against Duterte, it doesn't make sense. This is complete
Richard,
nonsense.
we're not expecting them to reply, no? Dito sa mga ganitong klaseng banat sa kanila.
Parang
Don't expect
bago na
them
rin
to
yata yung spokesman nila, no? I think medyo bago na rin yung spokesman nila. So, kaya nga, I was really updating about the situation na ICC. They're gonna hold it together. They have enough resources. They're trying to build their own parallel financial institution, etc. Pero, honestly, as I said, nasa unprecedented territory ng ICC. They have never dealt with anything like this. Pero kung maalala nyo, di ba, few months ago, parang nung humihingi ng interim release ang kampo ni President Duterte, sumagot yung korte, no? Including of course, yung team ng prosecution. At kung titignan yung sagot ng korte, maasim eh, di ba? Medyo yung parang idea, hindi pwede sabihin na anak mo, ganito, ganyan, or sinabi mo, ganyan, ganyan, tapos ibalik namin sa inyo, sinabi nyo, kidnapper kami. Parang may pagkaganon yung tone eh. Of course, they said it in a very officious language, pero ibig sabihin, bati sila minsan, I think, bati sila they're trying to cope with the preposterousness ng situation. Na pati sa mga kanilang mga official statements, nag-leak in yung kanilang inis, kumbaga. So, I think they have to have thicker face. I think they have to get used to it. The good news though is, as you know, last year medyo I was in hot waters when I visited there in ICC. And many of President Duterte's supporters were very passionate, very angry, I would say, last year about the situation. Mukhang this year, medyo, I don't know, kung nasa acceptance phase na yung mga kaibigan natin na supporters ni President Duterte, I think there's beginning to be a realization na baka nga, this is the beginning of a new chapter or end of a previous chapter, kumbaga. And matagal ito, hanggang Thursday yung mga hearings, and this is just for confirmation of charges. And this thing could go on for quite some time. If tuloy yung pag-aresto dun sa mga ibang figures, co-perpetrators, I doubt they're gonna be tried together per se, but there's gonna be some overlap and some syncing of these cases since medyo similar, actually literally similar, yung basis ng mga cases na final kay President Duterte. But obviously, the case could be even heavier against some of his chief operating officers like Senator Bato de la Rosa because they were much more directly involved in this. So, ano to mahaba-habang istorya, mahaba-habang usapan ito. And I think at least some of the supporters of the president are beginning to accept na this is the new reality that they're facing.
Richard, have you had contact with some of the supporters dyan sa Netherlands? Kumusta yung mood? Parang napaka-serene nung
Yeah, more subdued. More serene, more subdued. Kasi last year, naalala nyo, medyo it was getting out of control.
Medyo passionate, ano?
Yeah, I was,
Ngayon,
obviously, I had to be careful. Remember, yun yung time na persona non grata pa ako for my human development. I remember that. So I was on the edge last year. This year, medyo somber Medyo somber. You can sense the grief. There's a sense of grief. Kaya ako, I try to be as respectful as possible. Even if you ask other reporters, kinausap ko yung ating mga reporters, mga kaibigan and colleagues dyan. I didn't sense the same tensions or complaints I saw. Because last year, to be honest, I don't have to name some of these reporters I was talking to. Medyo kabado sila. And I have 100% respect for these folks because alam natin parang dinuraan pa yung isang kaibigan natin from one of the big channels. We saw yung scenes na ginaganon, 'di ba? May barrier noon, 'di ba? May barrier naman doon sa labas pa rin ng ICC and all of that. But as I say, hindi kasing intense or I would say kasing angry ng last year. I think the past year gave them time to make transition. But let me add something, no? This could be also the lull before the storm because parang ang narrative na nakukuha ko dito is yung pag-confirm ni Sara Duterte na natatakbo siya ng presidente. Ang dating niya sa akin parang yung sinabi ni Trump na tatakbo ulit siya and I will be your vengeance. Di ba may pagkaganon eh? So I think, again, maybe I'm speculating too much. Obviously, there's grief, there's serenity, there's somberness dun sa mga kaibigan natin. But I think also the fact that they know Sara Duterte could still be the next president of the Philippines. They know that she's a front runner and they saw the vice president very defiantly with a sense of conviction saying tatakbo ako and basically implying that she will avenge the injustice against her father. Baka medyo that also gave them some sense of hope na maybe not this year, maybe next, maybe in the near future there will be the return of the Dutertes. And I don't know if they believe it, maybe they'll be in a position to negotiate Tatay Digong's return, or at the very least, Sara Duterte is officially carrying the baton for the former president, no matter what happens to him in detention.
But there are those who say that whichever way the wind blows with the ICC case, Sara Duterte could benefit. For example, if Duterte is convicted, she will get a lot of sympathy votes. At the same time, if he is acquitted, then it's going to be a victory vote. So There are those who say whichever way the wind blows, it's going to be to our advantage. What do you think of that?
Well, timing is everything, right? If God forbid something happens to the former president, way before 2028 elections, let's say not in third or fourth quarter of next year, let's say God forbid first quarter of 2027 or sometime this year, I don't think the sympathy factor will be as significant going all the way to 2028. But if God forbid something happens to the former president, closer to 2020 elections, yes, I think we'll have a very similar dynamic to what we had. And we have an evidence for that, right? Yung Duterte bump na nakita natin in first, second quarter of last year. Where even Rodrigo Duterte, diba, there was a Pulse Asia survey na tinignan, but yung approval rating para satisfaction kay Duterte, diba, it was very high. It was like 70%, something like that. Even Sara went high. And dun sa political alignments, if you look at both Okta and WR numero surveys, dumampas na sa 40%, papunta na sa 50% yung aligned sa mga Dutertes. Now that's down to around 30 plus. So there is this room of 10 to 15% additional bump whenever something major comes out. So having said that, if God forbid something happens close to the elections next year, yes, I think definitely this will helps out. Whether it's acquittal or whether it's something more morbid, I would say. Considering the president is also quite frail and he's in his advanced ages and in the winter of his lifetime. But if the trial keeps on dragging on, if President Duterte is as strong as he is, I don't think there'll be that kind of bump. If anything, what we're seeing right now is that the other side is scrambling. I mean, to be honest, medyo na-distract ako over the past few days, looking at how seamlessly the two former arch enemies, Vice President Mayor Leni Robredo and former Vice Presidential candidate and current President Marcos, napaka-seamless yung kanilang dynamic. And within a span of 48 hours, 72 hours, you saw them hosting each other. And most importantly, there was no backlash. I didn't notice any backlash. And if you look at the very chummy, friendly pictures between the two, which, by the way, look extremely genuine. Hindi siya mukhang dalawang politiko na nagfe-fake. It looked very genuine. I think it helped that President BBM himself reached out. President BBM nagkumbaba siya. And you could see that it had a very positive effect on Mayor Leni. Mayor Leni is also very pragmatic. She realizes it's good to have an LGU national level relationship. She's a great conciliator. And then to see her, Vico Soto, other paragons of good governance, people who are known to be on the other side of the equation vis-a-vis the Dutertes and Marcoses, for them, all of them to see seamlessly together. Baka we're already seeing the outlines or kumbaga parang pilot project for a potential counter-Duterte alliance come 2028. So there's a Duterte factor, you're absolutely right. But there's also this factor of potentially Leni becoming the rallying point with the support of administration, not to mention other progressive and centrist forces who do not want the return of Duterte. So as much as, just to close on this, as much as Sara Duterte's saying, tatakbo ako, at basically, I will be your vengeance dahil sa ginawa niya sa aking tatay, because they're assuming yung ginawa kay Digong is unjust and abusive and allegedly bribe. That also creates a sense of fear. I don't know kung nakita niyo, may share akong, I don't know, half jokingly, there's a, para may listahan ng mga yayarin nila. Something like that. I know Ronald is ranked lower than me, but Liamas, obviously. Yeah. But putting that aside, but that, also has the opposite effect, right? Which is to make other side think, gusto nyo ba talaga bumalik ang mga Dutertes? Galit na galit ang mga yan. Okay. So we're seeing as early as now, first quarter pa lang ng 2026, a potential counter-alliance, may pilot project na tayo, may feelers na, may test case na. So, very, very interesting times. I think everything is moving. Talagang high velocity ang politics natin.
Okay, we have to say thank you na to Richard Hilaran because we have to go into a gap. Maraming salamat, Richard, for joining us all the way from the UK. Ami, we'll just go into a break. Please stay with us.
Yep.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news in the stories behind the headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao, and of course with us, Ami Pamintuan of the Philippine Star. Anytime now, the ICC pretrial chamber resumes former President Duterte's confirmation of charges hearings. One News anchor Angela Lagunzad Castro is on the ground at The Hague. Angela, ano nangyayari ngayon dyan? Angela, nakamute ka ata. Can you please unmute?
Alright, hi
There you
po
go.
Ed. So, andito nga ako ngayon ulit sa International Criminal Court or ICC sa The Hague, Netherlands, wherein the confirmation of charges of former President Rodrigo Duterte is taking place now on its second day. So, on this second day, aasahan natin yung continuation lamang ng submission on merits ng prosecution at saka ng victims via their legal counsel. So, dito, aalamin lang din natin kung ano-ano pa yung mga ebidensya na ipepresent nila na magpapatibay ng kaso nila laban kay Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. So kahapon kasi nasaksihan na natin yung kalahati, ngayon namang araw na to yung iba pa. So dun sa mga nagtatanong kailan si Attorney Kaufman yung legal counsel ni former President Rodrigo Duterte magpe-present, it's going to be on Thursday, February 26. So this is the opportunity for him to defend nga Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte based dun sa mga evidence to kumbaga parang maisa publiko nila na wala ngang kinalaman itong si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte sa mga kaso na ipinupukol sa kanya.
So the whole day today, tama ba? The whole day today is submission on merits of the case by
Yes.
the prosecution and by the counsel of the victims. Sila lang dalawa lamang.
That's correct, Bok. Sila lang muna ngayon.
So Angela, ano yun? Listahan lang yun ng evidence, di ba? Di naman actual presentation pa yan eh. Ililista lang nila kung ano yung balak nilang ipresenta.
Oo, yun po, ililista pero wala pang masyadong mga explanation. Tapos dun sa mga nagtatanong po na kung meron bang witness na ipepresent dito, wala.
Yes.
Wala silang witness na ipepresent, wala din silang mga pangalan na sasabihin kasi due to security reasons. Unless kailangan talaga, sabi ng House rules dito, pero pag-uusapan pa yan through private session kung i-approve nila yon.
Angela, paano yung coverage nyo dyan? Nakakapasok ba kayo?
Opo, actually nakakapagod siya pero eventful siya, okay naman. So meron kaming ID press ID ito.
Yes.
So meron kami para maka-in and out kami So pinapayagan kami dito ng ICC office na makapag-in and out para nga dun sa mga kung kailangan mag-live katulad nito Pero once pumasok kami doon sa gallery kung saan nangyayari yung hearing, dun sa chamber ay wala kaming dalang cellphone, wala kahit kundi papel at saka ballpen lamang kung gusto namin mag-take down ng notes. Meron doong earphones na aming papakinggan kung ano mang language ang gusto namin. Of course, English is there. Tas iba't ibang. Kasi nga, invited ang 70 international media kasama na tas of course yung local para makinig nga dito sa confirmation of hearing. So ganun yung nangyayari. At 9 o'clock open na yung media center. Sa media center pwede kaming mag-stand upper doon pero hindi kami pwedeng mag-interview. So lahat ng mga interview na binabato po namin sa inyo dyan, dito kami sa labas. Lalabas muna kami bago kami makapag-interview. Kasi very strict sila doon when it comes to yung mga camera.
Yung chamber, pwedeng pumasok ang public. Kasi dati pwede silang mag-register mag-request, diba? Ngayon, pwede pa rin ba?
Pwede po, Ma'am Ami, dito sa gilid, merong parang pinaka-public entrance doon. Pero first come, first serve basis siya. Kanina, si Attorney Nery Colmenares, doon siya pumipili Oo, hindi katulad nung kahapon, nung nakita ko si Attorney Salpanero, parang sa iba siya dumaan, no? Hindi namang ibang-iba, doon din naman same door, pero hindi siya pumila. So I think meron siyang reservation. Yeah. Meron siyang reservation. I just remember, I just remembered right now, dahil sabi ni Attorney Salpanelo, nakausap niya si VP Sara, before he came here, at sinabi nga daw ni VP Sara sa kanya, meron kang reserved seat sa gallery. Yon ang sinabi sa kanya. So, as compared to Attorney Nelly Colmenares, ay nakapila pa siya.
Angela, hindi ko lang kung narinig mo yung balita ngayong araw dito sa Manila. Nag-press con si Atty. Levito Baligo. Did you hear about that? At dinawat
No,
ang
hindi
ICC.
po eh.
Okay.
Hindi po.
Very briefly kasi I think you would want to ask somebody from the ICC there, maybe one of their spokesmen. Ang allegation, kasi si Attorney Baligod lumitaw kanina with 18 men na supposedly mga dating Marines na naging bantay at taga-deliver daw ng male-maletang pera para kay Zaldico. Papunta kay Bongbong Marcos, papunta kay Romualdez and all that. Pero ang dagdag doon, according to Baligod, meron daw 2 maleta ng tig 56 million pesos na pinakonvert sa dollars. So, $2 million daw yan.
$1 million.
Ang $2 million daw na yan ay idinaan kay Sunny Trillanes, whom we will be speaking to later, para doon sa ICC investigators na nasa Pilipinas. So, ganun ang kanilang assertion na may $2 million na galing sa mga maleta allegedly from the flood control projects na finannel to the ICC investigators in Manila to investigate the case against Duterte. So in other words, they're trying to establish a link between the ICC and the flood control money. And sabi pa ni Baligod is so the ICC investigators are guilty of graft for doing that.
Actually, kanina, Bok at saka Ma'am Annie, I was able to talk to Attorney Kaufman. Dumaan siya dito, no? At tinanong natin siya kasi kanina, sabi ni Attorney Nery Colmenares, tinanong ko siya kung ano yung kanyang reaksyon doon sa pagbanggit, pagsama ni Attorney Kaufman doon sa pangalan ni President Bongbong Marcos sa kanyang opening statement yesterday. Ang sabi ni Attorney Nery Colmenares, sabi niya, actually, irrelevant nga yun, 'di ba? Kasi ang pinupunto natin dito, may pinatay, sino pumatay. So ngayon tinanong ko yun kay Attorney Kaufman kanina. Sabi niya, how come it's not irrelevant? Sabi niya, it is relevant because itong si President Bongbong Marcos nga daw ang nagfa-fund para nga dito sa mga witnesses ng ICC dito sa investigation against former President Rodrigo Duterte. So yun yung sinabi niya.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a direct accusation against the ICC by Attorney Baligod and supposedly by these 18 men. So you might want to get somebody from the ICC to talk about it and address that
Actually,
issue.
Bok, nagre-request kami sa ICC office kasi hindi pa pwede sila mga ambush, kailangan i-request mo muna. So we've sent a letter already para makausap yung spokesperson nila and we'll definitely include this question kapag nakausap namin siya.
Okay, Ami, ikaw.
Okay.
Any more?
Wala, banggitin ko lang na may comment si Attorney Conti dyan sa sinabi na niya na ang nagpopondo niyang mga witnesses private, hindi daw gobyerno.
Yeah. Nag-post pa si Attorney Conti ng mga resibo.
Statement.
Oo, kasi po Ma'am Ami nung yung bisperas ng confirmation of charges, nagkaroon ng press con ang Duterte Network or Duterte Panagutin Network. Doon tinanong sila kasi nabanggit nga nila Attorney Nery Colmenares na hindi katulad ng mga Duterte family na ginagawang Quiapo itong The Hague na pwede silang papunta pa rito at ang mga biktima wala naman talagang budget. So tinanong nga sila, sino po bang nagpopondo sa inyo? Paano po kayo nakakakuha ng pera panggastos nga papunta dito? So yun ang kanilang naging sagot mula sa mga private individuals, mga organization, mga volunteers at sinabi na nga mismo nung kaanak ng biktima ng EJK na si Shira Escudero na sabi niya wala pong public funds na ginamit dito sa amin.
Okay. I suppose let's leave it at that muna. Maraming salamat sa iyo, Angela Lagunzad, reporters live from The Hague sa ICC.
Thanks, Angela.
Salamat, Angela. So we'll get more updates from you later on as we go down to the rest of the day. Up next, we'll be having a little later former Senator Sunny Trillanes to respond to the allegations of Tony Levito Baligod. Of course, as we said, we've been trying to get Baligod to agree to be interviewed by us here on this program, pero so far we've not had any luck. Si Trillanes, however, has said that he's willing to at least talk to us on the phone kasi he is now I think he now has some commitments, some prior commitments, pero pumayag siya magpa-phoner in a few minutes. So, Ami, yun ang ating iniintay ngayon. we can get Trillanes to respond to these allegations. Major allegations eh. I wanted to ask Richard nga kanina eh. Ano kaya implication nito dun sa ICC and how the ICC conducts itself and will be conducting itself in the next few days kung meron man na may ganitong direct assertion or allegation na supposedly graft. Parang Pilipinas lang, di ba?
Yan ang nga tinatanong ko, magre-react ba yan sa ganyang accusation?
Kaya nga eh. Whether they react or not, I'm wondering, whether they react on camera or not, I'm wondering how it will affect their decision-making
Saka
process.
kung cash yan, Ed, kinonvert ba yan sa, hindi mo pwede ilabas yan sa airport eh.
O nga, no?
They have to convert it sa, i-deposit mo yun sa bangko.
Saka malaki-laki yun na $2 million.
Manager's check or something. 1 million, you can take out of the country only $10,000 US.
O nga, that's a very good point.
Anong ginawa nila dyan sa 56 million? Paano nilang nilabas? I-convert mo yan sa bangko, kailangan i-alert ng bangko yung Money Laundering Council kapag may ganyang transaction.
But Ami, I also have to say this I'm not exactly clear kung ang allegation ni Attorney Baligot is that it was that the money was used for operations of the ICC investigators here in the Philippines, or if it was used or if it was turned over to the ICC investigators. So, hindi ganun kaklaro sa akin kung ano doon sa dalawang yun ang allegation. On the other hand naman, if it's used for operations of the ICC investigators here, why does it have to be in dollars?
56 million dito.
Why does it have to be in dollars if they're going to use it for operations here?
Oo nga.
Diba? Hindi mo kailangan ng conversion. Kasi nasa Pilipinas ka eh.
Ang laki-laki ng pera niya. Hindi pwede namang hindi na-alert yung mga kusino mang authorities yun.
And yeah, not just in pesos, but as well in dollars.
Maximum $10,000. You cannot take out. Makikita yun sa x-ray. Cannot fit into your luggage. Unless nga yung $1 million, lalo na makikita yun.
And if they were trying to be very discreet in their investigation, it's not exactly very discreet way of doing
Mahirap i-discreet yung $1 million. May paper trail dapat siya. Kung lilipat ka, babalik ka sa Philippines to the Hague pa. Ang higpit-higpit ng ng money laundering regime, anti-money laundering regime sa Europe.
Tsaka yun nga
unless hindi ko kasi napanood yung kung may detalye kung paano ginamit yung pera. Siguro baka may
Unfortunately, walang
kung
detalye.
Paano yung paper trail kung kasi if you're accusing someone of graft, personal benefit yan. Diba? Saan diniposito yon? Kaninong account? Ganon.
Yeah. But unfortunately, as of now, wala tayong masyadong detalye kasi according to Attorney Baligo, they'd rather have the affidavit submitted first to the Ombudsman before they release to the public. So we are not going to be seeing those affidavits anytime soon at this particular point. Mag-iintayin pa tayo. So all we have to go by is kung ano yung sinabi kanina dun sa press conference.
Dami-dami natin iniintay na statement, pati nga yung retraction ni Orly Gutesa, wala pa tayo. It has to be a written statement. It's either a written statement or a sworn statement doon sa Senado kasi ginawa niya yung sworn statement niya sa Senado. Nawala.
Yeah, but I can still hear you. It's just the video that disappeared. Anyway, okay. I suppose while we're still trying to get Senator Trillanes, maybe we should go first into a gap and then come back as soon as Senator Trillanes is... I'm sorry? Sige, we'll just go into a gap while they try to get in touch with Senator Trillanes for his feedback dito sa allegation na to. So please stay with us. We will be right back.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
Welcome back to Storycon. At this point, we bring in former Senator Sonny Trillanes, who is being accused of receiving money from resigned Congressman Zaldico, supposedly for the ICC investigators. Magandang hapon, Senator Trillanes, and thank you for joining us. I know you're very busy, but thank you for joining us today.
Hi, Senator.
Magandang hapon po sa inyo, kasamang Ed, kay Miss Ami at sa ating mga viewers.
Sir, I understand. I presume that you've heard the press conference kanina, yung mga salient points. Ang allegation nitong si Levito Baligod ay meron daw dalawang maleta, tig 56 million, convert into US dollars, $2 million daw, idinaan sa inyo para doon sa ICC investigators who were in the country as early as December 2023. Ano po ang response niyo doon?
Ito po, I vehemently deny na meron ako natanggap na $2 million o kahit na anong halaga mula kay Zaldico para sa mga ICC investigations or kahit sa anumang mga galaw o kung anuman. So wala po tayong natatanggap na pera. Ngayon, ito po, yung galawan na yan ay meant to discredit the ICC in light of the ongoing confirmation of charges hearing. Kasi nakita nyo yung timing. Sa lahat ng araw, ngayon nila ilalabas yan. Last year pa yung mga male-maleta na yan, wala silang na-mention. Then ngayon, como merong may ICC proceedings, biglang may ganyan. Tapos, ito po, dahil dyan, ako po ay magpa-file ng cyber libel cases against Levy Baligod, kay Mike Defensor, Jason at doon sa mga dating sundalong na humarap kanina. Dahil hindi natin pwede palagpasin yan. So, hindi po tayo madidistract dito at hahabulin natin itong mga ito.
Ami.
Senator, confirm lang namin, meron talaga mga nagpunta rito from the ICC noong 2023, hindi ba?
Okay, ito po. Yung tungkol po sa mga operations ng ICC dito sa bansa, I'm sorry to say na hindi ako pwedeng mag-divulge ng information about it kasi highly confidential siya. It will involve lives of not only the ICC investigators, kundi pati yung mga testigo na nakakausap. Kaya talagang pinagbabawal po na i-divulge yan. Ngayon, ito pong ginawa nila Baligod at nung itong mga humarap na ito ng mga dating sundalo daw, yan po ay violation ng Rome Statute yan. Kaya pwede silang makasuhan ng obstruction of justice. Obstruction of justice yan ng ICC. ICC mismo
ano po yung
magkakaso dyan sa
specific
mga yan, I tell you.
Ano po yung specific violation ng Rome Statute?
I think it's Article 70. They were mentioning that. So, yan, they will have to deal with that. At yun, sana gawin itong mga to kasi...
Ano yung obstruction of justice?
Yes, obstruction of justice. So, ang na-mention is Article 70 ng Rome Statute.
70.
Ngayon, ganito. Ano po yan? Sensitibo to. Akala nila laro-laro lang itong ginagawa nila na ito. Kung nagpapagamit sila sa mga kampo ng Duterte para lang maitulak yung kanilang agenda, well, pagbabayaran nila ito. Hindi pwede yan. Nasa mali sila rito. Itong ginagawa natin na pag-pursue ng hustisya through the ICC, ito ay para sa ikibubuti ng mga pamilya ng biktima at ng ating bansa para panagutin yung mga mastermind na to. Huwag nila sasabihin na nasa tama sila rito kasi talagang sasamain sila sa akin.
Pero sir, at least by appearances, ang pinapalabas dito ay may connection na bale ang ICC doon sa korupsyon sa flood control project. So inililink po ngayon ang dalawa. Something very, very local at something very, very controversial and scandalous with something that is happening in The Hague.
Yun na nga po yung sinasabi ko sa inyo. Wala pong katotohanan yan at dahil dyan kakasuhan ko sila ng cyber libel at I am expecting nakakasuhan din sila ng ICC for obstruction of justice. Kasi nakita nyo yung intention nila, talagang dudungisan. Unang-una, ito lang, common sense lang po ito $2 million daw. Paano naman ito, paano mo ilalabas yung $2 million na cash? Hindi mo maisip di ba? Pero pilit na pilit Kailangan nilang idikit para lang madungisan. Especially ngayon, na ongoing yung confirmation of charges hearing. I think maliwanag ko sa taong bayan kung sino nagsasabi ng tama rito.
Senator, kung hahabulin sila ng ICC, what can the ICC do to them? Anong pwedeng maging sanction sa ganyan?
Ayun na nga po, di ba yung obstruction of justice, marami na pong nakulong doon maliliit na sentensya, 5 years, but still, i-issue, kakasuhan ka nila. Ganun po yan. Kasi ito, the fact na dinox nila in-identify, i-release yung mga pangalan, tapos pinicturan, that would put the lives of these investigators in danger. Tapos pati yung mga testigo, pinangalanan. Hindi nila naiintindihan yung implications nito. Ang hirap kasi dito, nagpapasulsul sila. Papasulsul sila dun sa mga yung mga handlers nila na yan.
And sir, Article 70 of the Rome Statute, offenses against the administration of justice, that includes yung obstruction of justice. Anyway, I have to go back to it later. Yun. Ami, may pabol ka pa?
Yan po ang kakaharapin nila. Of course, I'm not speaking for the ICC, but I am expecting na isa yan sa mga kakaharapin itong mga ito.
Senator, pahabol ko lang kasi you're a former soldier. Anong balita nyo kay Orly Gutesa? May balita ba kayo? Nasaan na siya?
Wala akong idea po. I don't
kasi
have any
binanggit din siya
connection with the guy.
nila Baligod
Sila po. Baka mas may alam sila.
Kasi nag-retract daw kaya hindi namin alam kung nag-retract na.
Itong mga ito, pinagsasamantalahan itong mga politikong nasa likod na to, itong vulnerabilities na itong mga dating sundalo na ito. Ngayon, kung ano gustong ipasabi sa kanila, sasabihin na lang nila, buhong nga ng pangangailangan. Diba? But, I'm very sorry for them dahil sila rito. They will have to suffer the consequences of their actions.
Under Article 70 ng Rome Statute, imprisonment of up to 5 years for obstruction of justice, fines and forfeiture of proceeds, property or assets. That's for...
At mas immediate yan pag na-issuean yan sila ng warrant ng ICC, magkita-kita sila doon nila. Diba?
Okay.
Ganun yan. Akala nila biro-biro lang itong ginawa nila. Hindi ito. Mabigat ang kabayaran nito and I'll make sure they will suffer the consequences of their actions.
Sir, do you have a timetable? You said kanina you're planning to file a case.
Yes. Hopefully, as early as next week, ma-file ko na yan. Hindi pwede. And kung sino man yung mga ibang maliciously implicated doon, I encourage them to file para tignan natin kung hanggang saan yung PC nung mga handlers niya mga yan. I'm sure ilalaglag yan at in the end, hihingi ng tawad yan at nagkamali sila. I can just see that coming.
Okay. Maraming salamat po for joining us. We know you have a meeting and thank you for taking time to join us today. Maraming salamat, former Senator Sonny Trillanes.
Thank you, Senator.
Salamat po.
Okay. Ami, kailangan kong tumakbo dun sa kabila. But maraming
Oo.
salamat for staying with us the whole afternoon. Thank you for joining Storycon. Ami Pamintuan, ang bossing ng Philippine Star. See you again tomorrow, Ami. Just again tomorrow at 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Ed Lingao, kapatid. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.